Hong Kong Direct is your weekly racing roundup full of news, views, previews, interviews and special guests. And coming up on today's show, ahead of a double header as far as group racing is concerned, the Mauritian magician, Karis Teetan. We catch up with him talking about the past, the present and the future as well. He's got 2 rides in the big races on the weekend. The Premier Bowl also sees the return of Hot King Prawn, the choice of Joe Moreira, and the Oriental Sha Tin Trophy, the rematch between Golden 60 and Beauty Generation, plus Champions Way and Southern Ledge, you can see in the shop there as well. They're back in action once more as well. Back in action with me in the studio is Graham Cunningham and Ed Sadler, Hong Kong Direct regulars. And Ed, decent buzz ahead of the weekend's racing.
Yeah, fantastic racing to really look forward to, Andrew. The Premier Bowl comes up as the first of the features. We're looking forward to seeing Hot King Prawn come back to the races. He's only finished out of the top 4 once in his career. He's, of course, plotting a path towards the Hong Kong Sprint. Could this be the season that he gets that elusive Group 1 win? But Computer Patch Perfect Match will be hard opponents for him to face first up as well, too. And then in the Sha Tin Trophy, won by so many top-class horses throughout Hong Kong history. We're looking forward to seeing that rematch, as you say. Golden 60, the star on the rise, up against Beauty Generation, who's been the hero of racing here for the last 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah, it very much is the draw card on the weekend. Graham, £7 better off Beauty Generation is, but still doesn't make it any easier for him with Golden 60.
Yeah, he's still going to be a fair way behind the young pretender in the market, but this is a different race, different day, different trip, potentially different tactics. All the metrics, and we'll touch on those later, are heading in one direction, and that's a repeat for Golden 60. But Beauty Generation, with different tactics and perhaps a return to the dominant front-running style, should make it closer.
Well, the Oriental Sha Tin Trophy preview will come up in part 2 of the show. We'll be looking at the Premier Bowl in a moment. First, though, let's catch up with Karis Teetan, who's enjoyed a fantastic start to the new season, enjoyed success in these 2 races in the past as well, with 2 of Hong Kong's best in Designs on Road and Able Friend. Here's Karis chatting with Ed.
Karis, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. Your career here in Hong Kong, you've done terrifically well, but in the last couple of seasons, both in the amount of winners that you've ridden and also the quality of those winners, have you gone to a new level in your career?
Yeah, thanks, Ed. It's been a fantastic few years in Hong Kong for me. Of course, when I first got here, still needed to learn the way how racing is in Hong Kong. I sort of got lost a little bit from the start, then find my way again. But I would say, you know, in maybe the last 2 years, last two to 3 years has really picked up well. I'm learning a lot.
Has there been anything with your riding as such that's helped you to go to that level now where you're in the big 3 of jockeys here with Joe Moreira and Zach Purton?
You know, of course, I can always improve myself, and I always want to improve myself to just be a better rider all the time. Of course, in Hong Kong, you find a lot of good jockeys that comes in and out all the time throughout the season. So you always have the opportunity to pick up a few tips from all the big jockeys that come down, and also just to ride against them, you pick up a lot of little details. So I think, you know, Hong Kong has definitely improved me as a rider and even as a person. So I'm really looking forward to the future.
You've ridden the horse a few times in the past. He was the gun of Hong Kong racing, the champion of racing here. Riding him that day, it was his first run since Royal Ascot. What's your memory like of that day, Karis?
Yeah, it was actually a very good horse for me to get on when Joe was busy. With me being able to ride Able Friend was fantastic. You know, you not always get chances to ride good horses like that, and that race just shows you how good that horse was, the way he won that race.
Gold Fun quickly pounces on them. Gold Fun goes to the front. Penophobia in for the fight. They beat off Not Listening to Me. Able Friend, the champ, storming down the outside. It's Gold Fun in front. Able Friend, what a magnificent return by the horse of the year.
Just describe that feeling of that last 200 metres.
Yeah, it's, you know, you don't always find it. It's not an everyday feeling. It's unbelievable. It's like sitting in an F1 car and taking off.
The following year then, he rode Designs on Rome, another super horse from John Moore's stable. He won Gold Cups, the Derby, QE2, Hong Kong Cup. Again, first run for the season over a trip that might have been a bit short for him. Did you think he was a winning hope that day?
He was a little champion, you know. I haven't seen a horse that like him that, you know, when he comes in a fight out with another horse, he would never get beat. He would always, he's tiny, he's small, but he always gets his head in front.
Beauty Flame in front from Sun Jewelry, but Designs on Rome has circumnavigated the field, and he pours in the pressure now coming up to the corner. Designs on Rome from Beauty Flame and Sun Jewelry. Designs on Rome will still repel them. Blazing Speed and Beauty Only. What a win, Designs on Rome.
So this year in the Premier Bowl, you rode Computer Patch. You rode him first up. He looked like he probably needed that run, but he's win down the straight since then. You must be happy to be jumping back aboard him.
Yes, of course his win last time was very impressive over the 1,000 meter. He is a very nice horse. I think there's a lot of improvements still to come. I rode him first up. I don't think he was ready yet. He needed a run. Even Tony mentioned he needed a run. He should improve from that. And I'm just glad again I could get the ride. Of course, Joe will be riding Hot King Prawn, so that gave me a chance with a lighter weight that I could ride this horse again. As we talk about getting chances, so that's my chance again, and let's hope I can do well on him.
Computer Patch is the leader, 200 metres to run, leads by a couple of lengths over Jolly Banner, then Gold Chest, followed by Big Parties getting right away. It's normally Computer says no, not in this Group 3, Computer says yes.
And you get back on board Southern Legend as well too. You gave him his first ever win in Hong Kong 3 years ago, so you're jumping back on board an old mate.
Yeah, I remember that win at Happy Valley. Cass was not here. I think he travelled with the horses to Dubai. And he said to me, I'm going to give you a very nice horse to ride. And I think it was a Class 2. So he won very nicely at Happy Valley. And of course, I did not have a chance again to ride him. Nice of Cass and his owners to give me the opportunity again on him. And looking forward to ride the big horse.
We'll get into the preview of that in a moment or so, Graham. But it's an interesting thing with Hong Kong racing. It's not unique to this Karis, but he does seem to handle the situation well, losing a ride, getting back on a ride and doing well and making the most of these opportunities as well.
Exactly. And this Sunday's Premier Bowl it's a classic example, Andrew, of Hong Kong's musical saddles, because John Moreira and Karis Teetan have swapped around rides on Hot King Prawn and Computer Patch for a couple of years now. So has Joe chosen Hot King Prawn for Sunday because of Sunday or because of further down the track? Either way, Karis comes in for a belting ride on Computer Patch. And big-time jockeys have to tick off the boxes one by one. For Karis, it's HKIR race, Mr. Stunning, check. Champion Sprint, likewise, Mr. Stunning, check. IJC last year, check. Next target has to be 100. And at some point down the track, he is 6 or 7 years younger than Zach and Joe, don't forget. You have to think that a title challenge is within his scope.
Yeah, well, maybe even this year, Ed, because he started with a flourish. 93 for him last year, which is a big number. He was still a long way short of Zach and Joe. Zach on 147, but I think I'll get a bit closer this year, maybe.
I don't think he's going to be in a position to really challenge Zach and Joe. I think they're a little way ahead of Karis, with all due respect, and I think the numbers from last season show that. 147 for Zach, 138 for Joe Moreira, 93 for Karis. So he's done terrifically well in the last few seasons. You go back to 2017, 2018, he rode 52 winners. He's then gone up to, 84 and 93 in the last 2 seasons. So he's certainly gone up. He's a part of the big 3 rather than it just being a big 2. But there's still a bit of a gap between him and those top 2 for him to bridge, I think, before we can really see him challenge those for a title.
I think the gap will be smaller this year. That's all I'll say, though. All right, that's Karis Teetan. We'll talk about his horses in a moment as well, because we'll move straight into the Premier Bowl preview. Hot King Prawn heads the list. John Size, Joe Moreira, terrific first up record. Voyage Warrior first up for the season, so I haven't seen him in April. He's been up at Chung Fa. Wishful Thinker, 3rd in this race last year. Big Party behind Computer Patch, well beaten, 7 lengths down the straight last time. Good second up record for him. Rattan was 4th in this race last year. Computer Patch, devastating winner of the 1,000, and Perfect Match, who beat Computer Patch first up this season in the Chief Executives Cup. That was a big win for him as well, for Danny Shum and Alexi Badel. So probably the place to start here is Computer Patch. down the straights, Ed, and there was a little bit of interference for some of these horses. They came out of the gates and they sort of got in each other's way, but all said and done, he blew them off the track.
He did indeed, Andrew, yes. And I don't think, I know what you mean with that, a bit of interference at the start of the race, but it didn't really have much of an impact on the result, I feel. He needed the run first up, Computer Patch, but he was so impressive in the way that he beat these horses here. And he's an improving type, he's a progressive type, and he's come around at a time where there's not that same depth or strength to the sprinting race there was in the past. The one horse that we can still see in shot there is Big Party. You mentioned before that he's much better second up. He's never been a first up horse. I also think he'll be better around a bend on Sunday too.
OK, well, on that, Graham, let's play a game of top trumps. Would you rather have Big Party's second up record or Hot King Prawn's first up record?
I think I'd probably go for Hot King Prawn's first up record. He's a high-class horse and he's consistent. Big Party's a pretty high-class horse, but he's certainly not consistent. So whether it's first up, second up, I think it's more a case of which side of the bed Big Party gets out of. Hot King Prawn's hard to fault in terms of consistency. If he's ever going to win a championship race, a Group 1 race, this has to be the season. He's 6, he should be in his prime, and a few of the old stars aren't here anymore.
Absolutely. He's got the 133, the big weight to carry, of course. But let's have a look at the Chief Executives Cup. This is on the opening day of the season. And perfect match, Ed. You've got to say, this was a strong win. I was thinking 1,400 for him, but a strongly genuine run, 1,200 at this sort of level seems to be right up his street as well.
I don't think you're wrong in thinking that he's a 1,400-metre horse, Andrew. I think you're right. I just think fresh when he goes into a 1,200-metre race, that really suits him. He was tough this day. He was 3 wide throughout. As you can see here, though, he still kept on finding. He hasn't raced since then, so he's had a good 6 weeks between runs. And it's as if Danny Shumi's trainers followed the training manual that he used with Seasons Bloom last season. Seasons Bloom wasn't a 1,200-metre horse either, but again, he ran second in the Chief Executives Cup. He didn't race again until the Premier Bowl. He stormed home to win, so Danny knows what it takes to win with these types of horses, and I think he can win it with perfect match here.
Just whether he gets the tempo, I suppose, to run at here, Graham.
I think he's a big runner. I'm hoping they bet strong around Hot King Prawn and Computer Patch, because perfect match is a perfect match for Alexi Bedell. They're 3 from 3 together. That was very, very solid handicap form, and I just like the way he gathered them in. He won very decisively. He comes in fit and with a light weight on the weekend. His strike rate is 8 from 16. I think he's an underrated horse, this. I'm not saying he's a superstar, but he's getting better and better, and he's a big player this weekend.
All right. Wishful Thinker and Rattan Ed's been here before, ran well before. But what a quick word on A Voyage Warrior returns as well. He's sort of in the Big Party mould a little bit, isn't he?
He is. A few question marks about all 3 horses that you mentioned, Andrew. Rattan, you could make a little bit of a case for, I guess, in that he was unlucky last time out. He did have to cover a bit of ground in the race. My gut feeling, though, is that both Rattan and Wishful Thinker, their best days are behind them. They're both older horses. Now, Voyage Warrior beat a number of these horses when he won the Sprint Cup earlier on in this year, but that was on a wet track. And I'm just not sure about how he's going after the way he tried. I thought that trial at Trung Pha leading into this race left a bit to be desired.
All right, OK, well, we'll have a look at the Oriental Watch Sha Tin Trophy in a moment. We'll get the selections from Graham and Ed on their Premier Bowl and the other group race in a second as well. After the break, then, all that to come. Plus, we'll look back on last year's Sha Tin Trophy, which saw the end of Beauty Generation's winning run. Welcome back to Hong Kong Direct. Studio guests Ed Sadler and Graham Cunningham still with me. We'll be looking ahead to the Oriental Watch Sha Tin Trophy in a moment. Don't forget, though, on the website, Multimedia Showcase Racing to Win. We'll look at all 10 races on the programme, 8 on the turf and 2 on the all-weather as well. Races 3 and 7 for the features. The Oriental Watch Sha Tin Trophy, though, comes up as race number 7, headed by Beauty Generation. This is a Group 2, but still a handicap. Southern Legend, Karying Star, Golden 60, all finished behind Golden 60 last time out, but they're £7 better off. Fury, last year's Derby winner, first up for the season. Champions Way, dead heating with Beauty Generation last time out. Fast Most Furious, also coming out of the Celebration Cup. Player at Puente almost stole last year's Derby. Singapore Sling returns from a long layoff. And Shafano, £113. Matthew Chadwick riding for David Hayes. Now, the obvious place to start here, boys, of course, is with the Celebration Cup. It's a race, Graham, that Beauty Generation had basically a stranglehold on, but his hold was very much loosened, if not ripped away here by Golden 60 in devastating fashion.
Yeah, seconds out, round 1 between 2 very different horses, but very high-class horses. And that ability to run home in 22.19 on the day, but he reels off these very fast closing splits like they're going out of fashion. Golden 60 shuts it down in 5 or 6 strides. There were some excuses for Beauty Generation. Stall 1 proved a mixed blessing on the day. He couldn't get rolling at a very important point in the race. There's a £7 difference, £7 pull in favour of Beauty Generation again this weekend. The metrics are all going in favour of Golden 60. He's 5 years of age, prime time. Beauty Generation is 8, Twilight Zone, really. What about Golden 60? He's won his last 8. Beauty Generation's lost 6 of his last 8. That's not what we're used to. Stable form, Francis Loy ticking along really nicely, almost a winner a meeting. David Hayes, 0 from 40, I think, since that first day double. So lots and lots of metrics in favour of Golden 60, but the market's going to reflect that, and this is a slightly different tactical setup, perhaps.
All right, I thought for a moment there Ed Graham was giving Beauty Generation the standing count there, but he does get barrier 5, which might mean he can get to the outside of Kai Ying Star. Could that give him some sort of chance to really put the pressure on from the turn?
Possibly. I just think Golden 60 is the better horse at their respective stages of their careers. Certainly Golden 60 is going to be giving Beauty Generation a bit of a start, but he's got a sensational turn of foot. He's still a horse on the rise, whereas Beauty Generation, as marvellous as he is, his best days are behind him. So I think Golden 60 is the one to beat here, but certainly might be a bit closer this time around the margin between the two of them.
All right, all seems doom and gloom at the moment for Beauty Generation. Let's see if Zach Purton can inject some enthusiasm into Beauty Generation's chances on the weekend.
Yeah, I thought it was a good effort. You know, he's had such a long time off that he was a little bit rusty, and it took him a little bit of time early on in the race to get into his rhythm. And you know, it's not his normal racing pattern, but I thought he handled it really well, and it was a bit of a stop-start-run race. Those horses made that early move and got first run on him, but once he was able to sort of get himself into the clear, I thought he ran a good race.
When you say it's not his usual racing pattern, he's famous for being out in front dictating. Is that the way you rode him last time out, more of how things are going to be now that he's getting older, or was that just circumstance?
It was just circumstance. You know, he was just a little bit sluggish in his work, in his trial and in that race, but he's getting a little bit sharper as time goes on. And, you know, he's an older horse now, so it's going to take that little bit of extra time for him to switch back on, but he's getting there, and I think we'll see a little bit of a better horse or a different horse again this weekend, and I think he'll continue to improve after this.
There we go. So you're saying there's a chance, still fighting there, Beauty Generation. Just a word, guys, on the horses in behind there. We haven't touched on Fast Most Furious, Graham, and Dances with Dragon. £7 isn't going to be enough for them to win, but I thought they were staying on OK at the back, and a step up in trip wouldn't hurt either of them. Yeah,
Fast Most Furious scores well on the system of I backed him last time, so he might go in this time, and I think he could go well at a big price. Southern Legend has one notable victory over Beauty Generation, but I think Beauty Generation might hold the edge this weekend. I'm hoping it develops into a battle between the big two, and what I'm really hoping for is that Zach goes back to the old tactics of letting fly from the crown of the bend and seeing exactly what Beauty Generation is capable of, try to roll back the clock, but that might just bring the best out in the young fella, because a strongly run race might just show Golden 60's turn of foot to even better advantage.
Well, speaking of letting it fly, Playa del Puente did exactly that in last season's Derby. He returns. Singapore Sling returns as well off a long layoff. Any dangers there?
I don't really think so. I think they're both obviously nice horses. Playa del Puente, though, I think will be more of a 2,000 metre plus horse for this season. Singapore Sling's had a number of issues. We haven't seen him at the races for a long time, but it was a couple of years ago that he ran Beauty Generation to a half length in this race. So there is cause for optimism going in fresh that he might be able to run well. I think we should mention Champion's Way, Andrew, because I thought his last effort in the Celebration Cup was huge after a winless season last season and a bit of a subpar run, I guess, in the Chief Executives Cup. I wasn't sure what we're going to get from him, but he took off early and he was still strong to the line. He's got a lightweight and a good draw, and did run well at a number of races behind Golden 60 in the 4-year-old series last season. So he's definitely a top 3 contender in the race, even if it might be more for third in it.
All right, so that's Champion's Way. Fiore returns as well, Graham. What about his sort of chance? He ran some good races in defeat last year.
He did, and the interesting thing is, Andrew, he's had a lengthy spell at Chung Fa And the way he's gone in a couple of trials, yes, he was against lesser opposition, but it looks like the spark may just be reigniting. Now, I suspect if it does really catch fire, it'll be down the line over longer trips. But both he, Furore and Voyage Warrior, they are two of the poster boys for Chung Fa this weekend.
All right, OK. Tips time, boys. Decisions to be made. What do we like for the two features then, Ed?
I'm going to go for Computer Patch. I think he's a progressive sprinter on the rise and should be winning in the Premier Bowl. And then Golden 60 will be hard to beat in the Sha Tin Trophy, Andrew.
Captain Obvious with Golden 60, but I must stress that it's all about price. We don't mention it often enough, but Beauty Generation hasn't gone off bigger than 4-1 in many, many moons. He might do this weekend, in which case he'd start to get interesting. But Golden 60 is the obvious one, the potential star, and I think there might be some value in Perfect Match in the Premier Bowl. I hope they bet around Hot King Prawn and Computer Patch, in which case Perfect Match and Bedell could be a perfect match again.
Yeah, I think it's interesting as well, Perfect Match. The heartstrings still tugging at Beauty Generation for me, so I'll give him one more chance on the weekend to get some revenge with Golden 60. Those are the two features coming up on Sunday, the Premier Bowl and the Oriental Watch Sha Tin Trophy. So races 3 and 7. And then we're back at Happy Valley Wednesday nights, and then a return to Sha Tin the following weekends. That's it then, guys. Thanks as always, and enjoy the action on the weekend.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right, that's the show. Thanks for watching. We're going to leave you this week with last year's Oriental Watch Sha Tin Trophy. And this was the run of Beauty Generation coming to the end at the hands of Rise High for Casper Founds and Vincent Ho. Can Vincent do it again with Golden 60? We'll find out on the weekend. Enjoy this. We'll see you again on Sunday. Bring all the action from Hong Kong direct to you.
At the 800, it's Karis Teetan by a neck to Glorious Forever. Beauty Generation travelling with his head on his chest in third, but he's under lock and key. Southern Legend to his outside. Two further back then to Insatiable. Followed then as they come up towards the corner by Eagle Way, who's getting a wriggle on from Rise High. Nothing I Like More. And White Cuckoo starting to get to the outside. He's got onto the back of Beauty Generation, who shouldered his way into the clear, cornering for home and hit the front. White Cuckoo's in hot for seat. He's idling at the moment. Beauty Generation, Rise High and White Cuckoo, they run to him. They run past the champ. Rise High, White Cuckoo get past Beauty Generation and Karis Teetan. White Cuckoo and Rise High. What an incredible battle. It's Rise High going home best and Rise High from White Cuckoo. Beauty Generation could only manage third.